Hello there, this is Dr. Samlai. Welcome back to my minute lecture. Today's topic of my minute lecture is Mr. Tommy Lynn Sells. Okay? As usual, in the first half, I would provide you some general information about him. In the latter half, I would like to get into some details from our personal transactions. Okay? Then let's start today's thug profile number 23. Mr. Tommy Lynn Sells. He was hooked to psychological high when he get looking at liveness leaving the eyes of his victim. That moment he is hooked with, like drugs. And he killed 22 people. Although this number is not exact, but 22 was confirmed. He was already executed at the Huntsville prison in Texas at the age of 49. Tommy was actually born as one of the twins, but the other half, his sister, died 18 months after for meningitis. His mother was originally indifferent to the children, so after she lost her daughter, she left Tommy with her sister. Okay, but according to Tommy, it was the happiest time in his life to be with his aunt. But looking at this situation, Tommy's mom started to be envious and jealous of the happy lives those two were living. So she took Tommy off of her sister, and she would never let her sister see Tommy again. You see this situation? So she was not interested in taking care of her own boy. But once she saw them being happy together, she just couldn't stand seeing them being happy and took them apart and never allowed them to see each other. But as you expect, even after Tommy was taken back, it does not mean she had a happy life with his mother. She did not care, simply. So he stopped going to school, which is a big sign of neglect at home. At the age of 7, he started to drink alcohol. Unbelievably, at the age of 8, exchanged Tommy for money with his next-door neighbor who was known homosexual. The frequency increased day by day. So he was rented for money to child molester living right next to his house, completely allowed by his mother. And this incident left very deep scars in his heart, knowing that what is going to happen with his son by child molester. Still, mother rented him for money. Probably because of all these things, at the age of 10, he started to smoke marijuana. When his biological father passed, he wanted to stay with his body as long as possible. But his grandmother took him apart from his dad's body, saying that you can't stay there forever. So all these things by his mother and his grandmother completely ignored his emotional side. It was after this incident that Tommy started to break down psychologically, sneak into grandma's bed completely naked and try to rape his own mother. And at the age of 14, he left his house and took a train, those fleet train, to ride around the country. So at the age of 14, he left his house and took trains, freight trains, to ride around the United States. That is why he is called the cross-country killer. He was everywhere around the United States taking trains. That kind of, moving lifestyle lasted until 35 years old. And literally, he was everywhere in the United States until then. At the age of 18, he stabbed multiple times, over 10 times, and raped a young lady who was trying to be nice to him, and took him home for food and so on. He served 5 years at prison, and during that 5 years he got married with one woman, but right after he was released, he got separated and took trains again to ride around the country. It was when he was 15 years old, 1-5, that he first killed a person. A guy, an old guy, was trying to molest a boy, and he just could not help attacking the guy who was molesting the boy. It was kind of impulsive move he could not control. I assume he overlapped himself and the boy in his mind. And after that, when he was walking for a carnival, he saw one woman was trying to steal something from his bag. So he killed her with a baseball bat, and he also killed her son, who could be a witness of his crime. So he killed 2 people at the carnival, and those dead bodies were found 3 days after, when he was already somewhere else far away from the carnival, repeating stealing and prison and this unstable lifestyle. He in the end killed 22 people. So far was the general information about Tommy. And from now, let's get into part 2 of Tommy Lynn Sells that I only know. It was in the middle of cold winter that I started my contact with Tommy. And he was at the time in Texas, death row. His death sentence was already established, so he had no reason to hide any facts, and all he wanted from me was a magazine called Letters to Penthouse. I have never read it before myself, but it probably was a magazine filled with real letters from female readers about what happened in their sexual life without any photos and so on. Because when you are arrested for sex-related crimes, they screen those sex-related materials in mails, and they discard them. So he knew it and told me just stick with the Letters to Penthouse. It was kind of, I thought, interesting, but at the same time I was I had sympathy to him too, because probably in a very cold, isolated cell in Texas in winter, the only thing he could forget about reality and coming death was reading those sexually arousing books. It kind of reminded me of black people when they were slaves, were into religion to get mental support from the teachings. It was kind of similar thing, I thought. There are only limited way to forget a tough real times without using alcohols and cigarettes and all those external substances. But anyway, at the time he said he had a girlfriend, but he confessed that all we had was arguments, and I am tired of it. And he really sounded tired. That negative air came up from the letter he wrote. It was probably because she was raised by aggressive mother that she unconsciously chose to be with the aggressive girlfriend. Human beings have that kind of irony to pursue high adrenaline even after the high level adrenaline was gotten at negative incident. Anyway, I started to ask him direct question because that was the kind of deal between him and me. I promised to send him letters to Pentel, and he promised to answer me any kind of questions I would ask. So I go, why do you think you repeated killing people? And this is what he answered. It's exactly like drug addicts. You just keep going after high again and again and again. Once you see this liveliness leaving the person's eyes right in front of you, it is exactly like a drug. You start to feel like one more. And I asked, what kind of reason did you have to do that? And he goes, he felt like he was releasing their souls from reality, from the tough reality. Once you die, you don't have to experience disgusting, hurting things person like me is feeling anymore. So he said he was releasing their souls. That's the phrase he used to me. And I go, what kind of mother was she? And she goes, I don't understand. I don't know it either. From the very beginning, she hated me for some reason. Can you believe your own mother rent her son to a homosexual molester for money? That's he wrote. And let's look back at what happened to Tommy, okay? Tommy was with his aunt for the first 5 years of birth, right? Till he becomes 5 years old. And that time was happy time, meaning he established attachment with his aunt as his mother, right? But later on, he was taken away, forced away from his aunt. And on Tommy's mother's side, she goes like he was a kind of son who never changes his attitude, whatever I told him to do. Based upon these exchanges, Tommy's aunt was already like his real mother because they established tight emotional attachment, right? But his mother took them apart, right? So, because Tommy was angry and dissatisfied, because although they were biologically related, he did not have any attachment to his biological mother, right? She was just a third party with no love. So he didn't feel comfortable to his own mother, and that goes back to his mother too, because whatever she said, he did not respond to it because she was a stranger to him. Does that make sense? Because let me put it this way. His mother deserted him for the first 5 years, period. Then tried to have a friendly relationship right over? No, that ain't gonna happen. Okay? As I have been telling you, without having a warm, critical period with full of skinships and smiles, you can never be back to be mother and son. Okay? This is an iron rule. Okay? That's probably why she hated Tommy more and more and didn't care about him anymore. And she wanted money more than Tommy being safe and happy. That's why he was rented to next door molester. Okay, I still remember this that Tommy said to me. In reality, it has been years since my mother died, but she still appears in my dream and torment me and anguish me years after she died in his dreams. I thought this episode shows how far psychological abuse goes on. Right after he said that, he said, I have two words I don't like to use. One is love, the other is I am sorry. Those two words I will never use. The only word that drove me forward was hate. But I will never support the negative acts by Tommy. But considering all the negative things and all those dynamics that worked on his psychology when he was a little infant, physically, I think there was a certain reason that is kind of persuasive to me why he did things like that heinous. And his letter goes, okay, lately it is so cold in Texas, especially in my death row. Texas, some place in Texas is inland, so can be very cold. He said, I am already tired of everything. If I keep facing this same thing every morning when I wake up, I sometimes think death might be better than keeping this life. Tommy's words. I honestly kind of felt sorry for him, especially having heard all those negative things that happened in his life. Although that didn't have anything to do with his victims who had anything to do with his life. About 1 month after, I received a letter from Tommy. And in there, he said, hey, it looks like the time has come. Date of execution is already set. My attorney the other day came and said, there is a bright light across the long, dark tunnel. But it didn't touch my feeling at all. I cannot see any bright light. There's no light on the other side of the tunnel. I am not sure whether my letter could reach him before the date of execution, but I wrote my creed. That means I wrote what I would do if I was him. I wrote although it was very short time period of exchanges, I am honestly appreciative for contacting you and communicating with you and knowing you as a person. I just don't want to tell you a lie. That's my policy. I always tell you my true voice. And I don't want to tell you any beautiful phrases that is unreal, like the lawyer said to you. But, all those people you killed, some of them, if the time and the situation had been different, they could have been nice people to you, kind people to you, like your aunt. So I believe feeling sorry to those who might possibly have been nice to you would put you more peaceful in your mind to accept whatever is coming to you, okay? I am not sure whether my letter reached him in time, but I read that he did not leave any last words, and he didn't even look at the audience and lie down quietly and passed on quiet. As I may have said to you a couple of times before, one of my pillar creeds is not to invade and not to be invaded. No invasion into others' territory. That's one of the biggest iron rules that I believe in. And the reason I'm doing this research is not to create those who feel like invading into others' territory. And that's why I have been contacting with those who have done that in reality and make friends with them and ask them what really happened and try to understand the physics and mechanisms and dynamisms that was behind which drove him to things like that. And it was like a gang war, and one of the members of my own gang was killed. It is logical to kill one in the other. Honestly, I think so. That keeps natural balance. I know some opposed to this, and I'm saying this, but I indeed have a deeper answer, a little different from this, but let's leave it that way, okay? If it is the act to try to keep balance, if it is the reaction to some aggressive action, I could understand still. That's what I'm saying. But if it is not such reaction, you got to be ready to die yourself if you kill one person for no reason. Those victims he killed, they were completely innocent and had nothing to do with his own personal life. He just used them to feel that high he was going after. For that, he is deeply guilty and responsible. But I hear that he kept saying he just wanted to get done with his life, even for those whom he killed. He kept saying that, I heard, after he was executed. In the end, what I like to say is this. I'm just understanding how to make this society truly peaceful without using force. Even those little girl of 2 or 3 years can come home in the evening completely alone from the park to home. Or even those little kitties and little puppies can walk safely without being bullied by some bad boys. I just don't want to create those bad boys or bad guys who feel like offending others to feel a little better than the current feelings. Not the social system, but I just would like to find a way to bring this society to the one with the peaceful nature and constitution, and that is the goal of my research. Finally, I would like to say that I have contacted and met and called so many who committed extreme crimes, right? And the fact that there were many of them who could have been on my side looking for the answer for a truly peaceful society actually killed so many people because of the clear forces which they could not fight against during their very early childhood. So I would like to keep going on, find a clear and simple answer to make the society safer. And until that, I would like to keep communicating with those thug friends. Okay, thank you very much. But this time it was more emotional than informational. But like I said, I never lie. Okay, it was my true feeling about why I'm doing this, and I hope some of you could share the similar feelings with me. Please think it over when you have time or waiting at the intersection in your car or on your way home and stuff. And up until next time, please have a wonderful time with your loved one or even on your own. Please have a wonderful time. Okay, bye bye now.